in Decatur on Fridays in October, they have the Real Men Wear Pink program.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And I think you were a stud at one time. No. I think they used you. I don't know. I
think there are people.
This is the first I've heard of this. I'm going to have to
you didn't know
this
stud,
away and talk.
You didn't know I was a stud. I prefer to be called that now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, from now on, instead of boss, hey, stud.
Hey, stud, yeah, exactly.
Well, welcome to the table. Today joining us is Kevin Hinton, the owner of Maverik Marketing in Decatur, and we're certainly glad to have you join us today.
Yep.
Good to have you. Good to be here.
Welcome, Kevin.
Thanks.
Coming over from Decatur to Springfield, so we're glad to have you.
I might learn something here.
Well, I doubt that.
Yeah. I wouldn't.
Unless you're a self-teacher.
I would lower your expectations.
One of the things we've learned doing these is people that listen. I'm not sure why people listen, but they do.
It's not because of us.
But yeah, that people just love to hear other people's stories.
Yep.
I think it helps people understand their own story better and think, well, my story's not so crazy after all. So tell us your story. Obviously, you own the business. When did you get into the business? What made you want to start it? What did you do previously?
Yeah.
Just
tell
so
us
our folks can get to
what
know
you
you.
do for the people that don't necessarily know about Maverik Marketing. I know you're doing some business over here in Springfield, so there'll be quite a few Springfield people that'll be watching. So, yeah.
Well, 2001, I was the GM at Oak Terrace Golf Course down in Pana.
Oh, okay.
And my son was 4 years old. And, you know, my first year down there, I had a day and a half off, and I was missing things.
Yep.
And I like sales, but I hate selling things.
Sure.
But I like making people happy, putting smiles on their faces. So knew a guy that did, you know, what I do, and just kind of mirrored him for a minute. And I told my wife, look, we don't need to make a lot of money. I don't want to miss anything. So let's start with this. And, you know, first year we'll do this, second year, third year, and I won't miss anything.
Yeah.
And that was the whole point. Just like, you know, if you have kids, that's why you have them. You don't want to miss things.
Right.
And
how long were you down there?
I was down there for about three and a half years.
Yeah, I think that's when I first met you.
Steve Spinner was down there.
Yeah, Steve Spinner. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
And his dad was a barber here in Springfield. Drove from Pana to Springfield. But prior to that, I was in I was in the jewelry business, the golf business. Now this, so I kind of went from diamonds to divots to doodads. And
I like
well
that.
done.
That could
I
be
like
a
it.
yeah, you got to have that on
But you know, the best. I think the best thing was having those connections at the golf course.
Sure.
You know, I'm a relationship guy.
Yeah.
And it's you know knowing folks.
Yep.
And I've got a story about you, and I'll tell you later, and he can edit it out if he needs to. But,
oh, no, he'll keep it in.
Yeah, we want that one.
It's not bad. But we grew up, and I grew up, my dad was a barber, mom was a beautician, and small town, you mentioned Edwardsville earlier, Glen Carbon right next to it.
Yep.
And 2 grocery stores, one on each corner. And one week we go here, the next week we go there. And I said, Dad, why do we do that? Because that one's bigger. He goes, no, they're both customers.
Oh, yeah.
And so you learn the word trade.
Sure.
You trade with people. And I joke, my wife gives me $100 every 2 weeks. Doesn't matter what I sell. Since we started, so we started off at the incubator. It's a business. Paid $100 a month. Gave him $10 to answer the phone. Made me sound bigger than I was.
Yeah.
And that's in Decatur,
That's in
the
Decatur,
incubator? Yeah.
the old Borg Warner ball field down in there. And so we grew from there. We took over another spot, and then we had 3 spots. And then we moved over to West Prairie.
Yep.
And it was a dentist, doctor's office type thing. And got big, took the space next to it, knocked a hole in the wall, and then we decided we needed another place. So we bought the old Girl Scout building, which is across from the governor's mansion in Decatur.
Okay.
And had about 2,500 square foot, upstairs, downstairs, and had 9 offices kind of going around a work area. And my son's now 26.
Sure.
And he wants to see what he can do just like your family.
Sure.
And so I said, better do it while I'm still here.
Yep.
So, you know, he's watched me for a long time. Now I'm kind of watching over him. And, you know, he's starting with the operations, and he sells, but he gets it. He understands the customer service part of things.
Well, and I know that we use you, I think, for almost everything, don't we, Jay? I mean, like all of the things that we buy, our Huggies, our coffee mugs, water bottles, probably even some embroidery as well. And the one thing that I have experienced with your firm over the last, I don't know how many years, we've been doing business a lot of years, is that, you know, from time to time, things aren't as they should be. A logo gets messed up, a misspelling, but you always take care of it. And it's great doing business with people like you.
This is part of the story I was going to say, but I don't know if you remember Maverik when we first started. You and Todd gave me an opportunity.
Yep.
And we did coffee cups. And when you're brand new, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And coffee cups are ceramic, and they're not uniform. They're not paper. And with the two-color logo, it's kind of like, you ever seen the funny papers on Sunday where they blur?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
Remember this?
Yes.
So he gets these cups, and I look at them, and I'm
Yeah.
And we both kind of did the same thing. And you bought 500 of them.
Yep.
Which, thank you, but that's all right. We bought 500 of them.
Yeah.
And so I called the vendor. I'm like, "What'd you guys do?" And they got to read the fine print.
Yeah.
So we did.
Yep.
And then we decided that the only way we could get the logo they wanted was just do a one color imprint. So we laid it out.
Yeah.
And he came back, and they just didn't look good. And I'm sorry, but and you were very gracious about it. You go, I said, the only thing we can do now is just get a spec sample. Have somebody print a spec sample that can guarantee this is the way they'll look.
Yeah.
And they did. Now, that was in 2001.
Okay, so it's been that many years.
It was that
22 years.
About
wow.
8 years, or about 8 months, 8 or 9 months later, you and I were at a friend of ours, Glenda Williams, had a place on the lake.
Yep.
And so you and I were out on the deck, and you said, "Whatever happened to those coffee cups?" I said, "They're sitting back on my dock." He goes, "You had to eat those?" I said, "Well, yeah, but we're still doing business."
Yeah.
Now, it probably took 8 or 9 months to recoup.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
But
and
21
now,
years later,
Yes.
you're still doing business.
Exactly.
Right.
And you can't, and I'm going to talk about your business too, because I always peeked in the window with you and Todd and I were good friends.
I know you were. How long had you known? How did you get to know Todd?
I think through Mount Zion, always did a golf outing down at Oak Terrace.
Oh, okay.
With Dan Butler
Yep,
and
sure.
Morgan Distributing, those guys.
Right, yep.
And, Todd was one of those guys, and if you knew him, all you got to do is meet him once, and you're,
Yeah.
if he called you bro, you're in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
for sure.
and we hit it
Absolutely.
off, and
yeah.
we played golf at Southside a lot.
Okay.
And,
Yep.
And that one kind of boogered me up.
Oh yeah.
Did a lot of us.
A lot of us. Yeah, for sure.
But Todd, I could go into Peerless over there and just,
Yeah.
Todd would have you sit down and it had a great operation.
Spread his wisdom. That's for sure.
I learned a lot from.
Yeah.
you
Well,
guys.
I think that kind of ties in with, just how you handle those coffee cups. It kind of ties with my next question is, what have you attributed your success? And obviously, I know you're still growing and making the business better. But how did you? What do you attribute from being a one-man show to having 10 folks and a lot larger business?
Well, I understand that our customers keep my family indoors eating food, and that's about as simple as you can get because there's options.
Sure.
You can buy your stuff anywhere.
Right.
And we have people say, "Oh, I can get it over here for this, and I can get it over there for that."
Sure.
I said, "Yeah, but you don't get me."
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not bragging, but I'm good at what I do.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you're a man of your word. Yep.
And if there's a problem, you fix it.
Yeah, you're going to make it right.
Yeah.
Treat people the right way.
So I think our motto's always been, what's the best interest of our company long term, not deal by deal.
Sure.
Long term.
Yep.
And you're going to have these one customers that just sometimes you want to fire,
Sure.
and they usually fire themselves, and that's okay.
That's okay. That's right.
But I think it's just taking care of people, and you don't know, who does what.
Right.
If I can tell a quick customer service story.
Sure.
I have a customer down in Assumption, Illinois, big customer. They make grain bins all over the world.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Christmas time, and I had just little pockets of people I would do business with down there. And I went in, and I got these little tins of candy that I would put a bow on it in my card, and
Sure.
Merry Christmas, thanks. Merry Christmas, thanks. And I get to my car, I have one tin of candy left. And I put the bow on, and I walk into the receptionist. Her name was Debbie. And I said, Deb, this is for you. And she was so excited because nobody gives a receptionist anything.
That's right.
Right.
You're right.
And I said, look, I can't do my business without you. And I was sincere about this. I mean, because they'll see hogwash, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, you know, when I call down, you'll tell me if they're there. If they're, you know, I don't have to scan in. You'll tell me where to find them. They're over here today. And, you know, just make my job easier. So thank you. And I'm in it. And,
That's awesome.
You know, a little $5 tin of Terry Ritten candy.
Goes a long way.
Well, it was February. And my phone rings. And she goes, Kevin. I said, hey, Deb. And she tells me it's Debbie. And she goes, okay, Don got promoted. Derek took his spot. I took Derek's spot. I'm in charge of all the promotional items for the company.
Oh, my gosh.
She goes, I had a bunch of catalogs. I threw them away, and I put you on speed dial. When can you come down?
Wow. That's outstanding.
And to be real honest, not counting clothing, we've placed over 2,100 orders.
Oh, my gosh.
Over a $5 tin of candy.
That is outstanding.
Yeah.
So, and our slogan is big doors swing on little hinges.
Yeah.
Little things you do are going to make big things happen.
Yeah.
And we had one of my customers over here in Springfield called up one day, and she'd ordered 75 Nike quarter zips or something. They were nice. And, you know, I get an email that says, these are not right. I ordered 3 smalls, the boom, ba-boom. And I got to give these away on Friday, yada, yada. And I get in the car, I call the office, make sure our decorator's ready, make sure the inventory's ready, you know, so I got plan B, cover ourselves.
Yeah.
And I get over there, and she was fuming. You can just see the, and she was one of these you just knew you don't want to mess with her.
Right, sure.
And I said, if you got a conference room, and she gave me one, and I sorted them all out. And then I took inventory and did the list and called her back, and I said, let's take a look. And I said, you ordered 3 small, here's your small. And we went through and had the men's, and we were spot on, 100%.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, thanks for stopping by. She goes, I guess my intern can't count.
Yeah.
And I said, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then she goes, well, next time, pop in. I said, well, I just have to be in Decatur by 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
She goes, what's in Decatur? I said, that's where my office is. She was so impressed that I drove over. And it's like we said earlier, everybody's good till there's a problem.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And because of that, it spiked one of our customers big time.
Well, that's great.
But it's those little things you do. And going back to what Peerless and modeling what Peerless does, and I know this is not a commercial, but it's just the truth, and it's what we're talking about. I'm down in Florida, and we've been customers, or you've been customers of ours.
Yeah.
And I think they had a tornado over here. At one time a few years ago.
Yes.
And I'm in Florida, and it's a Sunday. And my wife calls, our sump pump had quit in Decatur.
Sure.
And I said, she goes, come home. I'm not coming home. I'll call Todd. Todd.
Yep.
And Todd pulled a crew.
Yeah.
From here, go back to Decatur.
Yeah.
And when I got home, the guys were there picking up all the dryers and the whole everything.
Yeah.
And, I didn't know about the tornado.
Yeah, right.
I didn't know that he said yes, because he didn't have to. He could have had every excuse in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then a second time I'm in Florida. I'm going to Florida next month. So.
Good. We'll make sure this schedule's
have us on speed dial.
But,
I'll be waiting.
I got you. I come home.
You can call me now on my cell phone, okay? No, I mean it.
Come home, go downstairs, going to take the Sunday afternoon nap and splash. Our brand new water heater had leaked
Oh, no.
from the top. I mean, whatever. And, of course, I called Todd, and I mean, seriously, within a half hour, these guys are moving in equipment. That your guys sitting at the table going, here's what we're going to do. Boom, boom, boom.
That's great.
And the whole deal, we get it all done, and everything's dry. And I go, thank Todd for the service. He goes, what could we have done better? I go, I don't think anything. I don't think you can. So when I think of Maverik, I think of those things that you guys do. And I think of, being able to go and talk to Todd and see kind of how you guys face businesses. We have the same philosophy.
Same philosophy, exactly. Same value systems. I agree.
And that's what's been successful.
We brought up Mason. So how much fun, or how much are you enjoying working with your son and seeing him succeed?
Well, it's...
because I've had the chance to meet him and get to know him, and he is a very nice young man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. His mom raised him right.
And, just to get out of the way.
I got to, like I said, I got to watch him grow up, and I got to coach baseball and help him with, golf. I can't hit a golf ball. You play golf with this guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't go that far.
Old short hitter?
Yeah. Choke up a little. But, no, in Mason, it's a long ball. But I get to watch him grow up.
Yeah.
And, there's story after story. But, what impresses me to this day is when if you bring you to my office, and I said, do you know my son Mason? He'll jump up from his desk, he'll walk around, he'll look you directly in the eye and introduce himself. Yeah. And, as a dad, first impressions, he's got it. He knows how to take care of his customers.
That's great.
But I had a friend of mine did a videotape, and owning your own business, it's not all honey and no bees.
Yeah, right.
You're there on Saturdays, you're there on Sundays, you're cleaning the bathrooms. Sure. And she did a video for Christmas after he graduated high school, and asked if one of the questions was your dad involved with you growing up? Mm-hmm. And he goes, he missed one of my baseball games.
Wow.
And one golf practice.
Wow.
I didn't miss anything. 2 o'clock, he's playing golf. Now, he wasn't a stud. That's okay.
Right.
I'd grab a cart and hang back a couple holes just to watch.
That's cool.
So
that sounds like you got your priorities in line, because that's number one. That's for sure.
My dad didn't see me because they were just trying to feed the family.
Oh yeah.
And as your barber back in the 70s, you cut hair on Saturdays.
Yep. Absolutely.
And excuse me. So we're fortunate now. He's got married 2 years ago, and he's going to be a daddy in November.
Oh, that's
Thanksgiving.
great. Congratulations.
Yeah. And we bought a house on the lake right off of Oak Ridge.
Okay. Yep.
And so our house faces due south. And Mason was able to buy a house facing due west on the same street.
Oh, nice.
So he's on the lake, I'm on the lake.
You'll be real close to your grandson or daughter. Yeah.
He sold my boat to buy his.
Oh, that's great. Good for you.
And that's, which is fine with me until I found out he took the money. But no, so it's
obviously you're going to be spending a lot of time on the lake in the future, which is awesome. But what's the future look like for Maverik as far as maybe the growth or different locations or different towns, or tell us about that.
And I thought we were in a fur-lined rut, comfortable, and you always are, and it just depends what Mason wants to do with it. We are able to support our families and have some good people around us. So it just depends what he wants to do. Some of the things he's exploring now is company stores, for example.
Sure.
So like Mueller Company, we own that store nationwide. We have 19 company stores.
Oh, okay.
And that's a lot of
So
business.
the Mueller, if I got online, or if I was an employee there, I wanted to buy something from the Mueller Company store, that is handled by you guys.
Yep, they don't touch it.
I did not know that. Okay, well that's
and we do
exciting.
There's remember Continental Carbonics got bought out.
Yes.
And so we have the company store for them. They had 27 plants.
Oh, that's outstanding.
So, you come to work every day and there's orders already.
So there's a lot going on outside Decatur and Central Illinois. Is there more so?
It's not problems.
Or no, not problems, but is there probably more going on revenue-wise outside of Central Illinois?
I still think it's our face-to-face customers.
Okay, gotcha.
The ones you can shake hands. And I learned a long time ago, years ago, if you ask me what I did for a living, I've done everything but work at McDonald's.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a great frame of reference to, with a lot of stuff, but I was a finance guy for a car dealership. Bob Brady owns it now by the mall. And never sold cars, just I'm the guy, figure your payment.
Right.
And had the big tent sale when interest rates were 12-14%. They cut them and I mean, I just went around the banks buying. This bank gets this one, just goes around. Everybody got a little piece of the pie. And that weekend was just I'm a vegetable at the end of that thing.
Right.
And two guys from Decatur, Gary House and Kevin Holderby. Kevin's was a banker at Williamsville. And they came to the dealership. And that Monday morning, I'd called all the bankers and thanked them for buying the business.
Sure.
And Gary came over and he said, we missed you. All the finance guys got together. And I go, yeah, I'm just busy. And he reached in his briefcase and handed me a Busch beer. And I said, man, if I drink this now, I'll pass out. And I really probably would have. And he shook my hand. He goes, you drink it anytime you want. We appreciate your business.
Yeah.
Now, he was the only banker that told me thanks.
Oh, yeah.
For the next 6 months, they got 87% of the business on a beer I never drank. So, again, those are little things.
See, if he had brought me a 6-pack, I definitely would have been happy and drank it all right there.
Yeah, but this was one beer.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't have it anymore. I think it found its way somewhere. But anyway, so bottom line with our business is just taking care of people.
That's terrific.
And it's fun. And like I said, my wife gives me $100 every 2 weeks.
I love it.
Irregardless.
Very good woman.
So I sold 2,200 Carhartt jackets 1 week.
Oh, my gosh.
That's a lot. That's a good size order.
Yes, that is.
And, we did okay. We make a little bit off a lot.
Sure.
Versus a lot off a little.
That makes sense.
And, I go to my shelf to get my money, and there's $100 there. I go, honey, wait a minute. Hey, you got a man in the house now. Come on. And she goes, yeah, next week might not be so good. But she's, if you ever met my wife, I married way over my head.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart.
So I did
for
good.
Sure. That's great. Is she involved in the business as well?
She's my bookkeeper.
Okay.
Is that right?
Well, that makes sense.
She's one of we have 2 graphic artists.
Okay.
And she's one of them.
That's great.
And like I said, that's where I don't know what I make. I try to peek at the taxes, but she just says, leave it alone. Don't worry.
Don't get your hands in here and
Yeah,
mess it up.
do what you're good at.
So how long's your son been working with you?
He had to work at somewhere else for a year. He had to work at Steak and Shake for made and flip burgers. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
But you got to know what the real world's like.
Yeah.
Right.
And my wife and I go to Mount Zion, and when he works, sit at the counter, and I'm laughing myself to death inside watching him work. And, And so he started right out of college.
Gotcha.
That's
so
great.
He went over to McMurray and then finished at Milliken.
Yeah.
And he's been with us part time probably about 8 or 9 years. He's 26.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That's great. Well, before we got on started today, we were talking about maybe community service or things that you or Maverik has done in the community, and you want to talk a little bit about some of the things you're involved in?
Well, just like you, and just we're just little, cogs in the wheel.
We are too. We are too. The same. But you know what? There's a place for people like us. And if more people or small like us got involved, I think it would be an even better situation. Because we give at the level we can give at, and it's not what Bun does or ADM or any of the big boys, but we're not those people. So
sometimes it's what they need from us that day makes a difference.
Absolutely.
You see somebody hungry and you've already passed them, but a couple days later that might have been the day you were supposed to take care of them.
Exactly.
And we get that, but a couple things. One that I'm probably most proud of is in Decatur on Fridays in October, they have the Real Men Wear Pink program.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And I think you were a stud at one time. I think they used you.
I don't know if stud was the... I think there are people...
This is the first I've heard of this. I'm going to have
you didn't know
this
stud,
away and
did you?
talk.
You didn't know I was a stud. I prefer to be called that now.
Right. Now, instead of boss, hey, stud.
Stud, yeah, exactly.
It might sound a little funny.
Who's listening? Yeah. But they had some guys in Decatur wore pink, and they put them on billboards.
Yep. Right.
I was eye candy for the old women, and and then it kind of morphed. Lori Kearns was a basketball coach, and she wanted to take it a little further. She's a 2-time breast cancer survivor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I helped Lori, and Lori would get the football team together. I would take a 100-foot extension cord, make a ribbon, and we'd give all the guys pink shirts. Yeah. And Lori would climb that ladder and talk about breast cancer and awareness and early detection and so forth. Well, after about 5 years, Lori came and she goes, "It's all yours." I go, "I didn't want it.
I was here to help."
Right. Yeah, I'm the Indian. I'm not the chief.
Right.
But St. Mary's in Decatur, HSHS, they get behind this every year. Maverik gives them the shirts. And we partner up. So now we go to 14 high schools every year.
Okay.
And so we line them up, get their picture with the
that's
pink,
cool.
and I get
All
to
the
talk to the kids.
Yeah. Is
About
that fairly unique to Decatur? Because I don't think we do that here, do we?
If we do to that level here, I'm not aware of it. That sounds very unique.
Yeah. I think it was meant to be Macon County. At the time, and now but Sullivan, it gets involved in it, and
because I know in our company we do that on Fridays, where in October, yep, absolutely. And he didn't know I was a real man either, so thanks for bringing that up.
Right,
appreciate it, Kevin.
No, but it's a good program from the standpoint, and you wonder, anytime you do stuff, you always wonder, did this make a difference? Did this make a difference? And so, after doing this for years, it's been, for me, probably 14, 15.
Wow.
A couple of years ago, I said, I'm probably done. I mean, I'm let somebody else take it over.
Yeah.
And I'm down in Central A&M, Assumption, Mariqua.
Yeah.
And I give my talk, and you always ask anybody here, know anybody going through any kind of cancer, breast cancer.
Yeah,
sure.
And I always tell the kids, look, if you raise your hand, I'll battle with you.
Yeah.
Coaches know how to get a hold of me. Don't be shy.
Yeah.
And, go spend a little time with them, do some stuff. And I'm in my car just texting the picture back up north, and this kid knocks on the window of my car, and I get out, and he goes, I just want to thank you for doing this. I said, well, he's a senior. He goes, this is the 4th time I've heard you.
Oh.
I said, well, thanks.
Yeah.
And I go, somebody battling? He goes, I lost my mom to breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
And he'd lost his mom about the same time my wife had got cancer.
Gotcha.
And I said, so, you be a leader on this team. You lead them. And just the most unassuming, he wound up, St. Mary's asked him to do a commercial.
Oh, that's cool.
But this kid could talk it really blew me away how much empathy this kid had. And I go, okay, we'll do it a little longer. Do it a little longer. But after in 2012, my wife was diagnosed with cancer.
I remember that.
And that's when you go from a spectator to a player. You get off the bench.
Yeah. Right.
And, so it hits home. So, they beat her hard for a year. They had 3 surgeries, hysterectomy, chemo, radiation, more chemo. I mean, they beat her up.
Oh, yeah.
And a year to the day, they put her back together, and she's 10 years cancer-free now.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Awesome.
So
that's wonderful.
But, now I can speak from a different position.
Yeah.
And to talk to high school kids about having that conversation, I'm a little older, but I couldn't go to my mom and talk about breast cancer.
Right.
You got to have a little guts to do it.
Yeah.
And we incorporate that into the story.
Oh, that's great.
And I got to tell you a funny one. No, I teach martial arts.
Sure.
I think
Yep, you told us that.
And we get a lot of foster kids come in short time, and had this kid. He was big as a house. He's probably 5'10", 280.
Yeah.
Looked like you could run behind him for days. You know?
Yeah.
And so I said, we'll try this out. Just take your shoes off. And I said, go ahead and take your socks off. And he goes, he walks up on me. He goes, I don't take my socks off for anybody. I'm in my mind, I'm thinking that's kind of bold, but that's kind of funny. I said, so where do you go to high school? And he said, MacArthur. I said, you play football? Yeah. I said, and I knew what happened. So this is what makes it really so good. He goes, I said, did you have some old guy come talk to you about real men wear pink? And he goes, yes. And that man was crazy. I said, oh, what happened? He goes, well, he was talking about cancer, and then he's talking about his wife's cancer. And my friend next to me started talking. And he walked right in the middle of those guys and told that kid, he says, look, you got something more important to talk about. We go over here and talk about it. Right now you need to shut up. And he goes, I said, well, what'd your friend do? He goes, he shut up. That man looked like going to kill him. And I said, oh. I said, so that old man? He goes, yeah. I said, that was me. Take your socks off, man. He peeled it. That's good. So having those little,
that's a good story.
Able to slap somebody without knowing they're getting slapped fun sometimes. But
I love it.
No, the real men wear pink. I've been able to be on some boards, and get asked to. And I always joke that I feel like the jackass of the Kentucky Derby. I can't win, but the association's got to help. And, I got on the board this time with the Civic Center, and a friend of mine who I respect dearly, his older guy, and retired military intelligence. And I had to meet with the mayor and the rink manager, and he goes, why do you want to do this? I said, well, Pat asked me to.
Yeah.
Well, I can learn from Pat.
Yeah.
You know, and I just sit there and keep my mouth shut, and I just watch Pat, and I learn, and it's a neat. So, you know, we all been gifted with different things, and you know, if you hoard it, it'll go away, and we try to keep we do it for the right reason. You get the right stuff. If you do it for the glory, you'll get that, and that fleets pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know, you don't hear Maverik putting his name on donating stuff.
Right.
It's kind of, you know, hey, we've been blessed. This is what we can do.
Yeah, that's terrific.
So, and you guys do the same thing. You know, there's probably everything you hear Peerless did for the community is probably 10 other things they don't know about, and that's you probably wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. Well, I know you've been a great big asset to the community of Decatur. That is for certain. So thank you for all that you do.
You mentioned martial arts. How long have you been involved in teaching martial arts?
I started when I was 35. I'm 65. I don't look it, but I used to. No, I started when I was 35, so I'm in my 31st year. And we teach an Okinawan style of karate and a Chinese form of kung fu. And, you know, I'm the old gray-haired guy, so we've got a deal to school. Anybody wants to knock the wind out of me to get 3 months free. And
oh, really?
Is that right? I love it.
Every once in a while, somebody tries. And
is that right?
I've never had to pay, which is
that's
okay.
Great. That's pretty cool.
But it's, you know, everybody does something. I can't hit golf balls like you.
Yeah.
You know, but I can do this.
Yeah, that's cool.
And you know, everybody has. This is just anything you like to do, you'll get good at.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I just liked it. And the only reason I liked it, I played baseball in college. I, you know, could roller skate, could do pretty much anything. But martial arts to me was I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to let this thing beat me.
That's great.
And I'm glad I stuck with it. Yeah. But my name for 6 months down there was Relax. Just relax, relax. You know,
Your name was Relax.
I'm breaking out of sweat, you know. But like I said, this, you know, everybody does something.
Yeah.
And I just enjoy that.
I imagine, I know you mentioned earlier, some of the kids that you do training with is probably, you probably end up serving as a mentor in a lot of ways to those kids, I would imagine.
Well, we've had some kids come through, and my instructor doesn't do it for the money. Yeah. You know, I mean, if he needed the money, we'd have a lot bigger school. Right. But I think one of the best, you know, heartfelt is the chef at Oak Terrace down in Pana had a boy that was autistic, and there's levels of autism. He was on the high side, but he had quirks. And they'd moved up to Clinton, and we'd moved to Decatur, and his mom asked if I would come up and watch him. He's getting ready to test for something. She didn't know what style, and I went up with, his name was Jacob, and so Mason and I would go up to the gym. They had open gyms Tuesday and Thursday, and I watched the class, and I'm over there taking notes, and get back to my living room. My wife says, "What are you doing?" Because I'm walking around looking at my notes. I said, well, if I end on 21 here, I can help Jacob because that's the number of moves you had. And so I called her back up. I said, I think I can help. So for a couple of weeks, Mason and I went up, and he was going to turn 8, so he had to break a board. So I had him break a board at the school. Sure. And he passed his test, and he called up kind of stuttering as he did, and he, you know, Mr. Hinton, I'm a yellow belt, and you know, I've got my glasses off. Something was in my eyes from the dust or whatever it was, but I told his mom, I said, you need to bring him down. Let us train him. Yeah. And Jacob, through just the structure, I think, was able to tolerate a lot of things. And he got his black belt. And wonderful. There's requirements. I mean, it's not, you could be there. If you don't have them, you don't get it. I mean, that's the deal. And Jacob got it and went to school at SIU Edwardsville. Oh, really? And came in probably 6 months ago. And he's going back getting his master's.
Oh my gosh!
And you go, you know,
a cool story.
You touched him somewhere. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we touch people all the time.
And you never know.
You never know. No. Right. And I think come Judgment Day, my father and your father, your father's passed.
Oh yeah. No, my dad's still alive. Yeah, okay. yeah, but they're getting
you know, he can look around and see what the lives you guys have touched, the people you've employed, and the things you do for your employees. Yeah. And I've got a nephew who's one of your employees.
I understand that. But I thought his last name was Biggie. It's Cuddle.
Can't tell
We
that
call
boy.
him Biggie. We call him Biggie. I didn't know he had a last name.
It was Jordan Biggie, didn't you?
Well, Jay said before, he goes, well, you know, Jordan Cuddle is Kevin's nephew. And I said, who's Jordan Cuddle? And he goes, Biggie. I was like, oh, okay. Well, you should have said Biggie.
I'll tell you what, the only thing I can tell you about that boy is you can tie a rope around and throw it down an air duct, pull him through, you'll clean it.
Oh, trust me.
know.
We love Biggie.
Yeah, he
Have you
is
ever
a
heard the
good
story
one.
about him? We were doing, is it called The Christmas Story, that video that we did?
Oh, yeah.
We did
Go
where he
ahead.
stuck his tongue to the flagpole. We didn't really physically want him to do, we just act like you're doing it, you know? And it was like, I don't know, it was like maybe 5 degrees out. Well, he stuck his tongue to the flagpole and had to rip it off. And I don't know if it turned into a work comp or not, but it was bad.
No,
I'm like,
it-
Biggie, we didn't literally mean do it. And
I
he did. He
know.
goes, I was committed, boss. I was committed.
I tell you,
He
you
was
know,
all in.
It was great.
no, he's got a good work ethic.
Oh, he
that I
does.
know
No,
of.
he's a good one, man.
Yeah.
No, we love having him around. He's a heavy lifter. You know, he does the really tough jobs. He leads from the front. He's everything you want in an employee, and he's funny. You know what I mean? I enjoy his personality.
loves to
He's
have a good
easy to
time
be
while
around.
working hard.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, as hard as we work and some of the nasty situations we put our employees in, we do like to have fun too on the side in a
Sure.
good way. And he's one of those guys. He's a good dude to be around.
Well, good.
You ought to
I'm
be
glad.
proud of him.
No, Todd called up and I was on the phone coming back from Springfield.
Yeah.
And he's trying to hire. And I go, well, you know, I got a nephew, and I said, here's the deal. I'll make the introduction. I walk away. I don't,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I don't know him. I know
Yeah.
him from coaching baseball.
He's a good one. He's one of the top performers around here for sure.
So, and his mom works for us.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is that right?
That's Terry's
Cool.
sister.
Yeah, we'll pass that on to her.
Yeah.
So, for sure.
Yeah, he's
Well,
a
then
good
I have
one.
to give her a raise.
Yeah.
Yeah, she probably deserves it.
Yeah,
One
very
of
proper.
One of the things every time we do this, or most of the times, a question I like to ask folks, you've covered a lot of ground between growing your business, community service, touching people, the importance of relationships. If you could look back and talk to your 30-year-old self, knowing what you know today, what life lessons, couple of lessons would you tell yourself at 30 that
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You know, backing it up a minute, just to give you an idea of what my son came to me just when he bought his house. He goes, Dad, I need to borrow some money. I said, what are you looking at? And he said, I need $15,000. I said, for how long? And he said, probably 30, 45 days. I said, just a loan. And I said, what happened to your money? He goes, well, I paid off Kirsten, his wife's college debt, and paid off her car. I said, what was that? He goes, $20,000. I said, at 24, you paid off $20,000 worth of debt. And he goes, I don't like debt.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going, when I was his age, I'd have had $10 left on a debit card. We're eating.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But I think
Yeah.
it would be just and I tell you that just not to impress you, but just impress upon
No, it's a
how
great, it's a great
important
story. I agree.
things are.
Yeah.
And so I think just having your priorities in line. You know, I learned a long time ago that everybody thinks if you got enough money that you'll be fine. You'll be in charge of your emotions. Things will be happy. And if you do that, you're going to be fine with your family, and everybody around you is going to like it a little more. And, you know, I like this life, so I'm going to stay in shape.
Yep.
And I get down to it, I'll probably thank God for everything.
Yep.
Well, it's kind of upside down. You know, I would talk to Donald Trump about business, but I wouldn't talk to him about being married.
Right.
You know,
right. Good point.
But
yeah.
you know, if your spiritual life's right, you're good to anybody in a hospital bed.
Right.
You're in charge of your relationships, starting with your family, working the way out. You have to be in charge of your emotions, your intellect, and the things you learn. And you know, the bottom line, if you do these things, the money will find you.
Sure.
I tell my son, money is like girls. If you chase them, they run. If you get better, they'll come to you. And so just get better. Focus on you. Read the books. You know, God puts the good stuff on the top shelf.
Yep.
Somebody's either going to help you up there, or you're going to stand on the books you read.
Yeah.
And the books you don't read won't help you. I saw when we walked in, you had a couple books. And
Yeah.
we're always trying to improve ourselves.
Right.
But I think I would just sit down and go, look, this thing's going to get over quick. You
Yeah.
know, 65 is going to
Yeah.
be here quick.
Yeah, it gets here in a hurry,
Yeah,
doesn't
it
it?
does.
So
that's
take
for
the
sure.
classes and
Yeah.
learn from the classes.
Yeah.
Invest in yourself and get better, because you can't. If you get better, then you can help other people.
Yeah.
And like we said from
for
the start,
sure.
I don't like sales, but I like people seeing something like this and going, wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
good job.
Yeah.
That's my payday.
I like it.
And
Yeah.
if we do that and we focus on that, they'll come back.
Yeah.
And
good.
if we start doing it for ourselves, they'll go somewhere else.
Great words.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You mentioned reading and studying and reading books. Any leadership books that you would encourage our listeners to take some time to read, or a favorite or two?
Well, you know, there's the Think and Grow Rich standard type of deal.
Yeah.
You just have to take those principles and do a little adjusting to make them.
Yeah.
Principles don't change, but circumstances do. But how to make them fit. The book that changed mine was, and I think you got to meet him, a guy named Tom Hill, wrote a book called Living at the Summit.
Oh, yeah.
And what I liked about it, the chapters were 3-4 pages long, and my attention span's like that of a goldfish.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm laying in bed reading that book, and my wife goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "It's a novel." You know, I don't know any better. But anyway, I read that book, and I heard him speak and bought a book. And there were 2 people that day that heard him speak. Both left their jobs and started their own business. And I wound up hiring Tom Hill to coach me. And
Yeah, he's a good
that
one.
was a good one. Now, if you go to my office, and Jay's been in there, you'll see books and books. And, you know, he taught how to get out of the books without, you know, you're looking for the nugget. You're not looking. I'll watch a movie looking for that takeaway type of thing that you can put in your little Rolodex and use it. So I'm not a book scholar.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, these conversations, watching other people, how they do their business, how they, you know, when you play golf, you and I play golf.
Yeah.
What you learn from somebody just playing golf.
Right. So true.
And, you know, I've heard bankers say, you know, I've turned deals down after playing 9-hole or 18 holes with a guy.
Absolutely.
How does he handle
Yes.
stuff? So, you know, you watch them, but then you also learn you got to represent.
Agreed.
You know, people are watching you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everywhere.
And, oh man, and you know, we wear stuff with their name on it.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't today. I'm sorry, but you know, they're gonna associate what you do.
Absolutely.
And
Agreed.
so I think just looking for the good stuff.
Yep.
You know, you'll find what you're looking for.
Very good.
You know, I think and I'm saying this with all humility. Sometimes when you start a business, and I was talking with Tim Patton, and there was a restaurant in remember Bixby's Bagels in the corner.
Yes.
And I was working at a job, and I had my little shirt, and all these guys in the suits. Tim Patton, Kevin Brahaney, you know, some lawyers in this group. But I'd sit over on the side and ate my little bagel before I had to go to work. And one day Tim Patton invited me to the table.
Oh, that's cool.
And
He's a good guy.
he is a good guy. And I get to beat him up once in a while now, which is kind of
He's
neat.
an old Springfield boy.
He is.
Yeah, I went to Griffin, actually. Insurance
And,
guy over J.L. Hubbard in Decatur.
So is Bob Brady.
Yeah,
from
Bob, right.
But so Tim invited me to the table, and that's where I met Steve Spinner.
Okay. Yep.
And because I met Steve Spinner, he offered me a job. In fact, I made my own job at Oak Terrace as a marketing guy. And from there, I became a GM. And when I started Maverik, I had this Rolodex of business owners that could use my stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I told Tim, I said, you don't know what you did, but that day you invited me to the big boy table.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't deserve to be here.
cool.
And as you're starting, you feel like you don't deserve what you've been given.
Yeah.
And I still feel that way, which is a good attitude.
No, I agree. I feel that way oftentimes myself. So, yeah.
You know,
Well, that's good wisdom.
Yeah.
All of us have an opportunity to influence people around us.
Yeah.
Use your picture, invite them to the table. A lot of times, if we're not paying attention to those kind of things, we miss them.
That's right.
But there's opportunities for all of us to invite somebody to the table who, while we may not have all the answers about everything, in fact, have very few, that we may be able to have some kind of influence in
At least
that,
we could teach them how not to do things. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Or we can make them laugh. Or make fun of us.
Or we could just tell them you're a stud, that we didn't know that
And I'm a
before
real
today.
man.
Yeah.
I'm a real man.
but see, this is the environment that Brad's got with his people. Nobody walks around on pins and needles.
Right. Yeah.
You know, in your
Absolutely.
environment.
Yep.
And, but at the same time, they know what they're supposed to do, and you hold them accountable.
Yep.
But you give them the freedom to mess up and go, okay, they won't do that again.
Exactly.
But you've created a good environment.
Well,
I'm not
thank you.
I'm not trying to, but I mean, I did watch you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for taking the time today to come join us at the table. And I mean, I learned a lot today. So,
yeah, great to have you on.
Yeah,
appreciate you for taking the time to do it.
all that you do for the community. So,
Well, you know, I appreciate that very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All right.